Gitvach to all. We're on Samich Tes Amid Aleph. Samich Tes Amid Aleph by the Mishnah. Okay, we were discussing Yuchsin. We were discussing Yuchsin. We had a Mishnah that dealt with Kidushin. No Avera, yes Avera, no Kidushin. Fascinating Mishnah. They gave us guidelines, and now we're continuing the din of Yuchsin. Rabbi Tarfin Oimer, Yecholim Mamzerim Li Tahar. Mamzerim are capable of becoming Tahar. Ketzad? Mamza Shenasa Shivcha. A mamza that's married to a Shivcha Kanainis. A mamza that's married to a Shivcha Kanainis. Bina Eved. A son will be an Eved. Shechraru. And once you free the Eved, Nimtza haben ben Chayrin. Nimtza haben ben Chayrin. You guys might remember this from many Shavuos night. This was the idea that Yishai came up with to go ahead if he was not permitted into Kal Hashem. This was his eitzah to go ahead and marry a shivcha. The child will go after the pogrom. The child will be a shivcha, and the meilavat the child will be a ben chayrin, be free, and will not be a mamzer. Rabbi Eliezer Minor, I said Eved mamzer. He's a double winner. He's an Eved mamzer. Gets the concern of both. He's an Eved and a mamzer. Boilahu. Rabbi Tarfon lechatchila kamar. Rabbi Tarfon said his din. But he's saying lechatchila that this is an eitzah taiva, right? And therefore, what you could do it. B'di'evet kamar, or is it b'di'evet? B'di'evet. In other words, if someone does it, it works, but you can't go ahead and be miyayet someone lechatchila to do this. Toshma, let's say toshma to say it's b'di'evet. Amulay l'Reb Tarfon tiharta es hasachorim, but tiharta es hanekevos. You took care of Secharim, but you didn't take care of the Kevos. In other words, if this is a b'di'evet to get in, it's something you would have to do clandestinely. So a man is apt to go to a different place, and he's a mamzer. He would tell people in that place he's an Eved. He would then marry a Shivcha, and thus be able to facilitate the Tahara of his son, his offspring, through calling an Eved. That's if it's b'di'evet. A woman, on the other hand, cannot have that option. It seems to go and declare herself available if she's a mamzeres to call herself a shivcha, and therefore won't be. So Muslima, this is a b'di'evet din. If you're going to tell me it's the chatchila that is permitted, so let a mamzeres go ahead and marry an eved, and so l'chare must be b'di'evet. And the Gemara, no, eved ain't l'chias. She wouldn't gain anything. An Eved does not have chiyas. There's no marriage whatsoever. It's in other words, there's no yichus. The child will be a mamzer. Why? Because the Eved has no chiyas, no miyachs. Toshma. I think I'm missing a word here. But now we're going to prove that lechatchila. Toshma, the ushpezichne. Yeah, that's the word. The ushpezichne. The innkeeper, the ushbezichne the Reb Simloi mamzahave. The innkeeper of Reb Simloi, he happened to be a mamzer. For Amalei Reb Simloi told him, he told him the lashon, akad toch, akdam toch, tihartinu levanecha, ekam doch. If I would have recognized you before you married, I guess he married a ger, then I would have been able to matari your children. You marry a mamzeres. Now, in other words, I would have told you to marry a shivcha, and thus by telling you to marry a shivcha, you would be matahar your kids. That's what I would have told you. So in other words, it's mashma as we're going to see that lechatchila. In other words, at this point in time, it probably was too late. He probably was married to a mamzeres, and therefore, or gyaris, whatever it was. But he goes, had I known before as Makkah that you had a yichustik issue, that you were a mamzer, I could have helped you. I could have helped you by telling you to marry a shivcha, the child's an eved, feed the eved, and thus the child will be a ben chayrin. That's what I could have told you. Okay? So, he's telling him, you know what? I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you earlier. Why would it then be b'di eved? He would have told him the menasibly eight, so he would have given him an eight and told him the following. Listen, zeal gonev, go steal, and you won't have what to pay back. Then you would be sold as an eved ivri, right? And then you would have been an eved ivri, guys, as mutter and shifra kanainis, and then your child would be what? An Eved, and then you'd feel the child. In other words, that's what he could have given an Eitzah if it was a B'di Eved thing. Good? Says the Gemara, no, you have no, what's your raya? Says, no, it was Shani Reb Simloi, Eved Ivri Mihave? In the years of Reb Simloi, was there such a din of Eved Ivri? Right, and again, Reb Simloi is an Amoira. V'amamar, Ein Eved Ivri, Noyeg, Ela Bisman Sheyovel Noyeg. We know the Eved Ivri is only Noyeg when it's Man Yovel, and Yovel is only Noyeg, as we saw, according to one opinion, when the Shvatim are on their respective nachlas. Ella must be, when he told them I could have helped you out, Lav Shmamina, Reb Tarfon L'Chatchila Kamesh, Shmamina, it's a good raya. So this is Mamisha L'Chatchila Tikadin, for a Mamza to go ahead and get himself, can marry a Shifcha, the Charles and Eved, feed the Eved, and Charles Ben Chayim. I'm Reb Yehuda Mishmul, Allah Reb Tarfon, the Machloikas, Reb Tarfon, and Reb Elazar, the Allah Chabad is like Rebbe Tarfon. Okay, what is Rebbe Eliezer Shita? Rebbe Eliezer said the Charles and Eved Mamza. Says the Gemara, I'm Rebbe Eliezer, my time with the Rebbe Eliezer. I'm Rebbe Elazar, my time with the Rebbe Eliezer. The Makra, the pasuk says loy. The pasuk says lo yavai mamza bekal Hashem gam dar asiri lo yavai loy. The lashon of him should not be permitted into kal Hashem. Okay, so it's loy. Holach acha psula. No matter where, we always go after his psul. So even if he marries a shivcha, no loy, we're going to go loy after him. So the Xeris HaKosiv that usually you should go after the when there's no Kidushin, you should go after the shivcha. But go after Kamaisa, we're not going to go after her. We're going to go after what? We're going to go after the Mamza. Okay. Rabbanon, what do Rabbanon do with the Limud Rebbe Eliezer? He's right. He has a very good Limud. Who be Yisrael Shnaf Mamzeres? That's not speaking about a Yisrael that's not speaking about a Mamza married to a Shifra. That's speaking a regular Yisrael that's married to a Mamzeres. Why would you need it now? It says Lo Yovei Mamza B'Kal Hashem. So why would you think that what the child is not a Mamza? Because I would have thought. The pasuk says, so you go after Mishkvar Beis HaVoisam, meaning you always go after the man. And therefore, I needed a pasuk kasavata loy. It says loy, right? It says that the pasuk says lo yavoi loy b'kal Hashem loy afke. Takes him away from the father in a classic case of a mamza, a man marrying a mamzeres a mamza marrying a Yisrael marries a mamzeres that it's Charles and mamza. Rebbe Eliezer lav afagad b'chsidim mishpason b'esasam atol asaloy la'afkei. Even though it says mishpason, nonetheless it comes out. So chanami afagad b'chsiv va'ishav yedeh tileneha asaloy afkei. Even though usually the child goes after the man, if there's mamzeres there, because it's a mamza. So even though the shifcha usually goes after the child goes after the shifcha, like it says, that any child born from the union of an Eved Ivri and a shifcha kanainis is an Eved. So they're also loy were afke. In other words, we have two reasons to say the normal thing. A man is a Yisrael, his wife's a mamzeres. It makes sense to say the mishpach chaysam. No, we say loy. It's a mamza. So it makes sense to say that a man marries a shivcha, that the child's an eved loy. No, so therefore it's an eved mamza. Right? Says the Gemara of Rabbanon. Okay, what did Rabbanon do with the svara of Rebbe Eliezer? Kol vlad b'mei shivcha kanainis kivlad b'mei behemedami. It's a difference over there. When it's by a mamzeres, a normal person, the child is a normal child. Masha'en came, we say a shivcha is hefker. It's like she's like the child. Her insides will view what as like the mei behema. We don't view it as a family, and then it's born. It's an eved. So therefore, it says the chachamim, the child will be the chachamim. This Reb Tarfon, the child will be a eved, and therefore the child's an eved. The freedom of this child as a ben chayrin would go ahead and clear up mamzeres. So this seems to be the way to clear up mamzeres. Okay, as we spoke out on Shavuos many times. Hajul lecha oimer, hajul lecha oimer, hajul lecha oimer. Okay, so the next, just 1 second. Okay, the next piece is next parak. The final parak is a parak asor yuchsin. And it goes through again along with the theme that we've been discussing until now, the din of yichus. So we know the bias sheni, where they went into Galus for 70 years, and Ezra led them back from the Gullus. Ezra led them back from the Gullus. Ezra did something unique. He brought back everyone he could, and more importantly, he brought back all people of questionable lineage. People of questionable lineage, Chalolim, Mamzerim. We're going to meet Shtukim and Asufim, different things that were questionable where they came from. He brought them back. Why did he bring them back? Because in Bavel, they weren't going to have the capacity to go ahead and be miyaches them, because the great people were in Eretz Yisrael. Everyone came back to Eretz Yisrael. Lishkus Agazis in Eretz Yisrael. So you want to purify Bavel before he left. So the Mishnah is discussing the people who came up from Bavel. And if you'd be surprised, among these people, all these psulim, that's the reason, because he wanted to purify Bavel. Says the Mishnah, Asara Yuchsim Olami Bavel. There were 10 Yuchsim who came up from Bavel. Kahane, Leviye, Yisraeli is 3, Chalalim is 4, Geirei are 5, Charurim are Avodim, Meshachwarim is 6, Mamzerim is 7, Nisinim is the Gevoinim is 8, Shtuki is 9, Vasufi is 10. And we'll see what these are. Kahane Levi Yisraeli, Mutarim Lovei Zebezeh, as we all know, Kahanim Leviim can marry among each other. Kahanim Leviim Yisraelim can marry among each other. Levi Yisrael, Chalole Geiri Charuri, Mutarim Lovei Zebezeh. A Kohen can't marry a Chalo, right? But a Kohen can't marry a Geirus either. Can't marry a Shifcha. Again, the Pasal of Zaina. But Leviim Yisraelim would be able to marry them. Okay? Geirei v'charurei umamzerei nusini shtuki v'asufi kulam mutarim lavazeh. And Geirim and Avodim Shechrorim and Mamzerim and the Sinim, the Gevoinim and Shtukim v'asufim, they all married each other. So progressively you start going from Kanim and we go work our way down. Okay, what's a Shtuki? Ve'elohim Shtuki kol shu makir es imoy ve'enu makir es aviv. He recognizes his mother. He doesn't recognize his father, and therefore if he calls someone daddy, the mother goes shh, shasak. You're going to be quiet. Benji, I know what you're thinking. Stop thinking that. Sufi, kol shenesaf min ashuk. Anyone that is a homeless child, he would call the shtuki beduki. Okay, so we'll be discussing these things. But the first thing to discuss is the asar yuchsim that came up from Bavel. So asar yuchsim olami Bavel. My area the tanu olami Bavel. Why did you focus on that they went up from Bavel? Nisli holchul Eretz Yisrael. Why don't you list that they went up to Eretz Yisrael? Again, it's more chashuv to go up to Eretz Yisrael than to say that they came from Bavel. Why are you stressing that olami Bavel, that it came up from Bavel? It says, you're going to hear a topographical din. You're going to hear a geographical din. What's the din? Kamash Malon, Kiditanya. That Eretz Yisrael is the highest place. The Kam to Balisa Elamokam Shayiv Chashem Lakecha Malamed Shebeis HaMikdash Gavoyim Mikol Eretz Yisrael. You're telling me that Beis HaMikdash is good, high in Eretz Yisrael. The Eretz Yisrael Gavoyim Mikol Ratzos. So you told me that all Olumi Bavel, they went up from Bavel. The stress is they went up to Eretz Yisrael, which is the highest land. It says Mabishleim Beis HaMikdash Gavoyim Mikol Eretz Yisrael. Hainu D'chsiv. That's what it says. Divrei Rivivois Bisharecha. Right, the pasuk says that there'll be fight. If something will go ahead and be distant from you in the Sanhedrin in their cities, and bein dom ladin, bein din ladin, bein negel lenoga, divrei v'sharecha, to come to Valisa l'makam sheyiv Hashem l'kecha. You'll go up. Where will you go up to? You go up to the Beis Din HaGadol. So you see that what the Beis HaMikdash, when it says going up, the Beis HaMikdash was the highest place. El Eretz Yisrael Gavoy, Mikol Ratzos Min Alon. How many Eretz Yisrael is the highest of all the places? D'chsiv, because the pasuk says, L'chein hine yamim boyim num Hashem, v'yomru oid chay Hashem asher hella es b'nei Yisrael me Eretz Mitzrayim, ki im chay Hashem asher hella ve'asher hevi es b'nei Yisrael, me Eretz Safoina umikol haratzos asher hidachtem sham v'yashvu al admasam. That's what the pasuk says. So now it says, you see that they're all going to come up that land. My area Tani Olumi Babal Nisni Olu Eretz Yisrael. Messiah Rebbe Loza. It's another right to Rebbe Loza. The Amar Rebbe Loza of the opinion. Is Rebbe Loza of the opinion. Just 1 second. V'saylel Rebbe Laza, Damer Rebbe Laza, Le'ola Ezra mi Bavel, Ad Shasa Kisoilis Nikia. Ezra did not go from Bavel while he was, until he made it like pure flour, V'ola, and then he went up. So you're stressing that him going up Ola Bavel is to stress up. Before he went up Ola Bavel, from Bavel, he made sure that Eretz Yisrael was squeaky clean regarding what? Regarding Yichus, as I prefaced before we did the parak. Okay. Now, Tanan. Itmar. Abaya Omar. Olu me'aleihem Tanan. Olu mi Bavel means they went up by themselves. The Rava Omar Helum Tanan. And Rava says Helum, he brought them up against their will. So again, according to Abaya, the Mishnah should read Olu mi Bavel. According to Rava, it should mean Helum mi Bavel. He brought them up from Bavel. Ukamifliki bid Rebbe Elazar. Damer Rebbe Elazar. Le'ola Ezra mi Bavel at she'asa keselis nekiya v'ola. Abaya lesle the Rebbe Elazar. Abaya does not hold the Rebbe Elazar, because if they're going off from themselves, he wasn't in control. Rava Islay, and Rava holds the Rebbe Elazar. He holds the Rebbe Elazar that Helam, against their will, he brought them up to ensure that there would be no question of tainted lineage in Babel. Everyone holds the Rebbe Elazar, even Abaya. What's the lashon of Alo? Masava ifrushi afreshinu. That Abaya is of the opinion he separated them, and then and then they went up themselves. In other words, he made sure that the tainted lineage was separate, but then he didn't physically bring them up. They went up themselves. But Abaya is being moded that the tainted lineage did leave. And Umasava and Rav is of the opinion about Korchayu Asaknayu. They went what? Again, against their will, he took them out. Now, Bishlam, according to Abaya, Hainu Dom Rav Yehuda Mashmuel, Kol HaRatzos Isol Eretz Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael Isol Bavel. Okay, all land is considered Isol Eretz Yisrael. Vis-a-vis lineage, Isa means a cholent, guys, a dough. It's mixed together. Every place that's outside of Eretz Yisrael is considered Isa, a mixture of questionable yichus to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is better. Eretz Yisrael Isol Bavel, and Eretz Yisrael is Isol Bavel. Right, and Eretz Yisrael is considered what Isol Bavel, because again, if they went up themselves and Ezra didn't take them up, then why we'd understand why Eretz Yisrael is less than Bavel. Elaman diyama helam, but l'man diyama that he brought them up themselves. In other words, guys, when these people came up to Eretz Yisrael, you didn't know who they were because they went up by themselves. So we understand, therefore, why Eretz Yisrael is less of a level than Bavel. It's Isa, it's mixed together because, again, they went up and didn't even know who they were. But according to Rava, who says he brought them up, so obviously if he brought them up, so what happens? Meida Yedinu, they knew who they were. So people in Eretz Yisrael would also be careful to stay away from them. So why is Eretz Yisrael considered Isa Lebavel? It should be on the same Madrega of Yuchsin. In other words, these people were brought up against their will. We knew who they were. So if we knew who they were, what was our problem? Bishlema Olu, if they went up themselves, we don't know who went up and who stayed behind. So therefore, it's questionable. Eretz Yisrael is questionable vis-a-vis Bavel. Masha'enkein, if you hold that they clearly he forced them out and knew who they were, and since they in Eretz Yisrael, they also knew they were then, and therefore they'd stay away from them. So therefore, the Bavel and Eretz Yisrael should be on an equal plane. And for the Gemara, Nehidi Yodai Lahu Dara, good that generation knew who they were. The Dara Achrina Lo Yoda, but future generations did not know. So therefore, that's why Eretz Yisrael is Isa Bavel. In Bavel, where there weren't any pure, squeaky clean. In Eretz Yisrael, where they were, so maybe that first generation was squeaky clean, but afterwards they began to forget who they were. Now, the pasuk says this is describing what Ezra did. The ek bitseim el anahar. I gathered them to the nahar haba el ahava that came to Ahava. And we camped there for 3 days. And I discerned in the people who were there. Upa kahanim ubnei Levi leimatzi sham, and I didn't find bnei Levi. I was missing bnei Levi. So that's what the pasuk says. So therefore, bishlema alu, they weren't there. El mandi ama helam hamizar zahir, but the mandi amar according to Rava, who says that what? That mizar zahir, that he was careful who he brought up. So what does it mean over here, this pasuk, that he doesn't know who were there? It says he didn't find them among Bnei Levi. He know who he brought up. In other words, this pasuk saying that he didn't know who people were missing. But if he had gone ahead and brought them up already, he knew who was there and who wasn't there. Everybody was there. He forced their hand. So what does it mean that he didn't know who was there? So the Gemara says that he is hure b'psulim. When it says Helam, he was careful to bring up the psulim, the ones who don't have yichus. The ksherim lo yizdiru, but the ksherim to bring up that he didn't force the hands, and therefore it's possible that Bnei Levi weren't there. Like, there's a fascinating Rashi here that we have to do. A very fascinating Rashi. Why would who were the Levium were missing? Guys, you might remember that the Levium, that Yochanan and Kohen Gadol made a gezeira that the Levium lost their Ma'aser Rishon because they didn't come up. Okay. Look at this Rashi, fascinating. Rashi is quoting a Yalkut Shimoni from Tehillim, Kuf Lamed Zion. V'avina ba'am, mi hayu, and I discerned in the people who was there, umi loy haya, who wasn't there. Shmamina, la yada Ezra, mi ala imo. He didn't know who went up with him. Umi la ala imo. Good. V'sava shahayu sham leviim ksherim. He thought there were leviim ksherim there. V'lei matzaru uyim la avoida. He didn't find Levium that were right to the avoda. Elamei oisam shekatzasu b'hoinos yideim b'shineim. Only those that had bitten off their thumbs with their teeth. Who are those? V'amru ein nashir ashir Hashem. Right? You always say you're supposed to say that before benching, right? It's right. Eich nashir ashir Hashem. Al narois bavel. The mizbah al narois bavel. Sh'amar lahem Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar said to them, listen, go ahead and sing to us, and me and my Avodah Zarah, sing to us the same songs he sang to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the Beis HaMikdash. Amdu, these Levium went ahead, stood up, and they cut off their thumbs with their teeth, so they would not be able to play the instruments. V'amru, loy eich nashir eshir Hashem. How could we play the shir of Hashem? Al admas nechar, on a foreign land. Loy nashir, loy nemar. It doesn't say we won't play. Ela eich nashir. How can we play? Ein lanu b'malam mishamesh b'nimi akinoros. We don't have the physical aptitude to go ahead and play the instrument. Me oisan alu. Those ones went up. But the kesherim did not go up. The Shalva, they were happy in Bavel, they were sitting there in tranquility. The people went up to Yerushalayim with difficulty, with the fear of everything around them. And the one that we said that went up were the ones that weren't right for Avodah. Fascinating Rashi, very Levi to know, right? Fascinating. You knew this, Ari, you knew this, right? This? Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. It's a beautiful Yalkut in Kuflat Zion in Tillim. Okay, so but the question is, if he meant Balkarchi, he should know who they were, because the Psulim he knew, but he didn't know what the Ksherim. He didn't find the Levium, the Ksherim. Anyway, says the Gemara Vaita. Kahani Levi Yisraeli, Minolan the Saliku, how do you know they went up? So the Pasuk says, by Yeshu HaKahana Valaviam Uminaom, Bahamishoirim, the singers, the Hashayarim, the gatekeepers, and the Sinim Ba'areim, the Chol Yisrael Ba'areim. So, Chalale Geri v'Charuri, Minalon, how they went up, Chalale Minayim, the Chalalim, the Tanya. Okay, along Rabbi Yossi Omer, Gedoyle Chazaka. Chazaka is very great. Says Rashi, Gedoyle Chazaka, Yeshlis Mechala Yafe, you can be Samech on a Chazaka. Right, so now we're going to get a long-winded pasuk. Okay? Shenamar, the pasuk says the following. Okay, I'm going to read the pasuk to you. B'nei Kahanim, B'nei Chavaya, B'nei Hakoitz, B'nei Barzilai, Asher Lokach B'nei Barzilai Hagiladi, who had helped David when he was supported the rebellion, or supported David when Avshalom rebelled. Isha, they took him as a wife. Kori al Shemam. Eila Bikshuk Savam Hamisyachshim. They looked for their, in Yiddish we say a yichus brief. They looked for their ID, their yichus ID. Savam Hamisyachshim of the yichus. So, and it wasn't found. As a result, Vayigoylu min kahuna. These people, they were ostracized from the kahuna. They said they were chalalim. They couldn't do the avodah. They couldn't eat kachik kedashim. Vayoma hartishasa. Hartishasa, guys, is Nehemiah. You might remember from Megillah and Rosh Hashanah. Hartishasa, he was the one who he would drink the wine before they gave it to the king to make sure it wasn't poison. And the name Hartishasa comes from Hitter Shasa. He matted the drink. That was his job. He was the guinea pig. Okay, so what did he say? Lahem asher lo yochlu mikotche kedashim. Since you're halal and you're kini for kedashim kedashim, at amen akahanim urim v'tomim, until the kahanim stand up with the urim v'tomim. In other words, you won't be able to eat because in the second bias there was no urim v'tomim. Gemara Yuma tells us one of the things missing in the second bias was the urim v'tomim. So in Mela we know there were halalim that went up, right? And we know that they didn't eat kachim. This is going to be the rest of the Gemara, guys. Okay, this is going to be the rest of the Gemara. Okay, now. So if you look at Rashi, guys, when it gets wide 4 lines down, so he goes, you're not going to be able to eat kachim until the Mashiach comes and tells us who is a kohen, who's not a kohen. Okay. You are in your chazaka. The Mahayisim Oichlim, the Goyla, the Koshi Agavol, you ate in Koshi Agavol, you ate Truma, that's Kodesh Gavol, is the Koshin that can be eaten in the Gavol, that's Truma. So in Bavel, Truma is the Rabbanon, so you could eat Truma because you ate Truma the Rabbanon. Afkan, even to an Eretz Yisrael Nami, the Koshi Agavol. So L'chayre, Gedoyle Chazaka means the following, fellas. Even though we won't let you eat Koshi Kedoshim, since you went ahead of chazaka of eating truma d'rabbanan in the Chutz La'aretz, we'll let you eat truma d'rais in Eretz Yisrael. That's G'dol chazaka. The bottom line is, you see that what they came up, right? You see the chalalim came up. The one who says if you see kahanim, people eating truma, will be mila you as a kohen. Hani dachla b'truma asu lasukinu. You can end up going in and marrying them and thinking they're squeaky clean and not chalalim. So Mashani Hasam, the Reich is Kayu. No. Just usually if someone's eating truma, and that's a good chazaka. But these people who are only eating truma and not eating kachi kedashim, so what do? We weaken their chazaka. So therefore, people kahanim will not marry into the mishpacha. Again, the Gemara's kasha is: aren't you worried about kahanim marrying with these people? They're chalalim. Says the Gemara, no, their eating truma is not going to go ahead and give us a yichus. Why? Because keneged that chazaka eating truma, we have the marach chazaka that they don't eat kachik kedashim. They're not eating kachik kedashim. The elamai gedoyle chazaka. So if you're telling me that what gedoyle chazaka the meikara, as I told you, achol b'truma d'rabbanan, b'sleif achol truma d'raisa. V'bay seima lo'olam hashtanami b'drabbanan achol b'draisa lo'yachol. They ate truma d'rabbanan, they didn't eat truma d'raisa. Since they eat truma d'raisa, you don't have the question. Like the iman the omer that says that eating truma will be ma'ila liyuchsin, you don't have any problem. Why? Because they weren't eating truma d'raisa, only truma d'rabbanan. I was going to ask them what's gedal chazaka. V'chi maskina mi truma liyuchsin d'raisa d'rabbanan l'maskinan. Ihachi my gedal chazaka. So where's chazaka? What impact did chazaka have over here if they're not eating truma d'raisa? The meikara leka lemigza mishum truma d'raisa the besoif. Afagav dekla migza mishum truma d'raisa b'drabanan achal b'daraisa. Excuse me. Let me read it again one more time. So the Gemara is asking. So what is gedol chazaka then? What's the gedol chazaka? The meikara when they were in Bavel leka lemigza. There was no reason to make a gzeira because they couldn't eat kachim. Mishum truma d'raisa because they're going. No reason to make a gzeira because truma d'raisa. L'besoif when they got into Eretz Yisrael. Afagav the ikal and migzar to not eat truma d'rabbanon, right? Mishum truma d'raisa, but d'rabbanon achol, but d'raisa lo yachol. So they weren't goyza to stop eating truma d'rabbanon that you might come to eat truma d'raisa. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, Vaksiv Ayoma had to shasa lehem ashal yochel mikotche kadoshim mashma b'kodesh kadoshim with loyochel hakol midi nechal mashma after the karbonis you couldn't eat, but anything else that wasn't a carbon you could eat, such as truma deraisa. And that the Gemara answers no. Hachi kamar loyochel you can't eat midi de mikra kodesh midi de mikra kadoshim. In other words, don't say the words kodesh kadoshim together to mean carbon. Split it up. You can't eat something that's kodesh, truma, and you can't eat kachim, karbanis. So split it up to two. So therefore, he's taking them off the lot. Lo midi mikra kodesh, lo midi dechsiv v'chol zol yochel kodesh. That's truma. V'chol midi mikra kadoshim, which is what the chaz v'shleik. Damakra ubas kayin kisiya leish zar he b'trumas kachim leisleichal v'amamar hamurim min hakachim. In other words, when she goes back home, she can eat truma, but she can't eat chaz v'shleik. If she married a Yisrael, she can't eat chaz v'shleik leisachul. The pasuk says you can't eat b'murim, you should not be able to eat. Okay, so therefore we know the yichus went up. So far we know who went up from Babel: Kanim, Yisraelim, Leviim, and we know Chalalim went up. And tomorrow we will continue. In the morning, probably 9 o'clock. Okay, in the morning, probably 9 o'clock.